Oh, yes, 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 yes. Now, this is how you start off the new year with a bang. What is going on, my fellow collectors? Happy New Year's 2016, and I'm back with another figure review. As a matter of fact, I'm back with an oldie but goodie. I'm doing the X-Plus 30cm Godzilla 1964 from my favorite film in the entire Godzilla franchise, in case you haven't already know, or don't already know. Mothra vs. Godzilla, and this is the Diamond reissue figure. You know how we do things around here, so let's get into the box before we get into the awesome figure. So, this is the box. You know how it is. You know how it is. With the typical, Godzilla's name, the Japanese language title of the film, Mothra vs. Godzilla, my favorite film. You're going to hear that a lot during this video, trust me. 1964, the picture of the figure itself, the sinister, evil-looking face of Godzilla in the back, X-Plus Garage toy, the PX signifying that it is a Diamond reissue figure, with your legal jargon on the back is Americanized, so you know what the heck they're talking about now. And that is pretty much it with the box, so let's get into the figure. Now, yes. And like I said, Happy New Year to all my fellow collectors out there. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. For one, like I said, I want to start off this new year with a bang. Number two, this is my favorite Godzilla suit of all time. For my favorite Godzilla movie from all time, Mothra vs. Godzilla. Once again, like I said, you're going to hear that a lot during this video. And this figure is from Diamond that was released a couple years ago. I believe I got it in 2014, like around March or April, I believe. And I just wanted to do this review. I should have done it when I first got the figure, but by that time I was kind of new to YouTube, so I wasn't really comfortable with doing videos at that point. Plus, we had other figure reviews of this figure from Godzilla and some other figure reviews out there. Great, awesome reviews for this figure. But now time has passed. I've gotten into my little groove here. I figure I just throw my thoughts in on one of my favorite 30 centimeter figures from the X-Plus line. And actually, like I said, this was reissued from Diamond in 2014, but it was also originally released in 2010. The standard came with the open mouth. The ripboard came with also the open mouth, but also came in with the alternate piece to have for the jaw to have a closed mouth. Then it was reissued again as a ripboard in 2013, but it was closed mouth, and it had a lot of feature with blue LEDs in the dorsal plates. Quite arguably, probably one of the best figures that the S-Plus has ever produced. I'm sure Richard Reissue and David F. Dotko will attest to that. Then it was reissued through Diamond in 2014. Like I mentioned before in other videos, the first wave, a couple waves from the Diamond deal, there were some issues with some of the figures. Like with Mechagodzilla in the first wave, it had like a deformed leaning leg issue where the leg looked deformed. Mechagodzilla, where he had like a little lean when he stood on top of his base. Then you had, in the next wave, you had the GMK 30cm Godzilla that had the oversaturation coloring of the gums that didn't really look right, as well as the Gargantua brothers in the same way, where their face paint apps wasn't all that good. But around this time, around this wave, the 64 this figure was released. You had a 30cm Minya and a 30cm Varan. Around that time, that's when Diamond really turned things around and really stepped up their game in terms of quality control and just really gave us some magnificent pieces. I'm really glad they did, because like I said, this is my favorite Godzilla suit of all time. I gave my favorite incarnation of Godzilla. It would be massively disappointing for me if it would have came with any kind of problems. At least problems that couldn't be corrected or whatever. Now with the Gargantuas and GMK Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, those problems could be corrected. But Mechagodzilla, all you had to do was just heat up the vinyl and then maybe morph it to where it could stand in place. I've done it, it worked. Or at least you can apply some expertise when it comes to the coloring of the Gargantuas or GMK or whatever. Just those are easy fixes. Nothing that couldn't be resolved. But around this time, around this wave, and from the rest of the waves for the rest of the duration of the deal, we got some really magnificent pieces. And like I said, I'm really glad that I picked this up. Of course, it's a no-brainer. I was gonna get this regardless. The fact, like, you know, they were selling them for a very, very good price. I think this was like around 160, maybe 180 to be at the most. Where I've seen this guy go for a lot more than that, trust me. But yeah, this is a really, really magnificent figure. One of the best that X-Plus has ever done, as far as the X-Plus or the Diamond reissue. It's really, really awesome. So let's go show you up close and personal on some of the features of this suit or this figure, and then I'll show some size comparisons also. So sit tight. Let's get a closer look at this awesome Godzilla figure. Okay, folks, here we are up close and personal with the 30cm Godzilla 1964 from Diamond, or as is commonly known amongst Godzilla fans and Godzilla purists, the Mosu Goji. As you can see, really, really awesome representation of this suit. It's just an awesome, compelling, incredible figure. Diamond really did a great job with this figure. Let me bring him back so his tail won't fall back, so he won't have a lean back issue. And there's one thing I will touch on right now. He does have a little bit of size to him, especially with his tail being so long and so elegant. And that's one thing I love about this figure is the sculpt. They really did capture the sculpt really, really well. Let's start with his tail. His tail is very, very, very long and it's curving down, kind of like how it was in the film, where Godzilla's tail was gracefully moving about as he moved his body, as he was walking or whatever. He just really moved like a giant prehistoric animal, and that's what I really love about about Godzilla's performance in the film. To a certain extent, Haruo Nakajima, who played Godzilla, I really like his performance in the film, and his tail was just like I said, gracefully moving, and that's why I'm glad that they really decided to capture the tail in this position. Plus, it gives him a chance to stand up upright, because if not, you saw what happened, right? And although it looks okay, it just looks better like this. That way he's balanced, you know, he just balanced on his tail. There's no need to have any kind of like something to prop his tail up or whatever. It does it on its own right here at the tip. The dorsal plates, the color of the dorsal plates are really, 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 really good. Very, very nice. The dorsal plates are absolutely perfect. And like I said, with this being my favorite Godzilla suit, I'm going to look at it from a different set of eyes than some folks would. And everything about this suit, especially when it comes to dorsal plates, are really, really, really spot on. There was an issue with the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1964 where there was like a big gap. If I'm not mistaken, there was a big gap right here between this dorsal plate and this dorsal plate. Where this dorsal plate right here was kind of like round, like right down to here. And there was like a massive gap between the two. But if you saw the film, this dorsal plate actually hugs up against this big dorsal plate, his biggest dorsal plate on the middle of his back. So I'm really glad that X-Plus really captured that. And like I said, the coloring, the arrangement of the dorsal plates, the shapes of the dorsal plates, which is basically a carbon copy of the previous suit in King Kong vs. Godzilla, the King Goji. Although it's the same dorsal plates, as a matter of fact, I'll show that in size comparison in a few seconds. It's really virtually the same dorsal plates, except the King Goji's dorsal plates was kind of a little more jagged, if you want to call it that, where these dorsal plates are more smooth and more rounded. It's the same shapes of the dorsal plates, but the King Goji's had a more like a jagged shape to them. Then you have the coloring of the figure. The paint scheme is really, really good. You have the basically the Godzilla charcoal gray with a little green, little mixed in, and you have little brownish highlights here on his abdomen, as well as his knees or whatever. Basically, kind of signifying how he rose up out of the dirt when Godzilla first appeared in Mothra vs. Godzilla. Really, 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 really good. You have the claws, really, really sharp claws. And I really like how they captured the suit where you know, Mr. Nakajima held Godzilla's hands and his arms close to his body. He didn't have his long arms like he would come to have like in the 70s films, where he was like doing a whole bunch of body slamming and punching and swinging his arms. But with this, he really looks like, you know, a Tyrannosaurus with his arms being so close to his body, his claws being outward like that. Very, very, very menacing, very, very intimidating. Toes, same way. Kind of like alligator type of feet or whatever, with the wide foot and the long toes being separated with little gaps in between there. It's funny, if you watch Godzilla's feet as he evolved into the superhero Godzilla towards the 70s, the toes kind of like merged together, where you had the toes like on this Godzilla, you have boom, boom, boom. But when he morphed into the Godzilla of the superhero kind or whatever, when he morphed into the good guy Godzilla, the toes kind of like went inwards, where you had like just the toes were like really bunched together like this. But like I said, with this with the toes being arranged like this, he just gives it more of a prehistoric look, which I thoroughly enjoy. Paint the paint scheme is awesome. The curvature of the tail is awesome. The pose is absolutely awesome and compelling. The toes, the claws, everything about this is really, really, really amazing. Really, really amazing. And I'm really I feel kind of bad that I didn't get to this figure really sooner. You would think I would have, considering how I love this film. But let me say the best for last, and of course, it's the face. Hopefully, getting the focus here. Hopefully, the face looks absolutely perfect, with the teeth being sculpted individually, done really, really well. The light pinkish color of the of his inner jaw, as well as his tongue, and especially right here the eyes, and especially those big eyebrows, that gives him a very, very evil, sinister, and just malicious look. It was just something about this Godzilla. I mean, he was close to being a very scary Godzilla. Now the 54 Godzilla was somewhat scary in a way. I mean, of course, GMK we know was scary. But in the Showa version, this is probably the scariest Godzilla. I would argue it's probably the scariest looking Godzilla ever. Because in the 54 film, we didn't see too much of his facial features as far as the suit is concerned. Like, we would see like here and there, but he did look menacing. I give him that, but he didn't look really as menacing as he did in this incarnation here. Of course, with the original 54 film, you had a combination of both Godzilla's face on the suit. Then they had like puppets or animatronic puppets that would be close-up looks of Godzilla's face to, you know, give him more expressions on his face, like, or whatever. But sometimes the puppet didn't really match the overall look of the suit. That was really like a major problem, at least as far as I'm concerned, with the Showa films. Like the puppets didn't really match up with the overall look of the suit, which they really corrected when it came to the Heisei films. But just the overall look of Godzilla's face here is really, really, really good. The eyes are sculpted really, really well, and it's really for me, it's a major selling point of this figure. Is the fact he just looks so evil, so sinister, and it just embodies the character of Godzilla in the film, and it's probably why he's so he's considered as maybe the best Godzilla suit of all time. Of course, everybody's gonna have different opinions. I get that, but the Monster Goji is arguably one of the most popular designs in the entire franchise, at least amongst kaiju collectors and fans. And that's why I love this figure so much, and that's why I love this suit so much. He just has just an awesome, awesome look. Look, dude, come on now, don't get jealous, okay? I did a review on you earlier, so don't get jealous, okay? Don't get jealous. It's not your time. I still love you, but come on now. Give your little brother some time to shine, too. Anyways, it's all right there. But let's first go with size comparison. Like I said, yes, great, awesome, compelling figure, incredible. I could go on about it. It's just amazing. So let's bring up his Godzilla incarnation from the previous film, from King Kong vs. Godzilla, the King Goji. And as you can see, they scale really well with each other. This is the Rip Board, the 1962 Rip Board King Goji, which has a light up features in the back. I won't display that because for one, the lights are really not that good, and it's really not really about that. I'm just showing you just the size comparisons between the two and the evolution of the suit. So, like I said with the dorsal plates, see, look at the dorsal plates. Virtually identical. You know what I'm saying? Very identical. Except it has, and you can tell with the dorsal plates. Now, of course, it's different because they both are made of different material. Of course, with the translucent vinyl, because it is a light up, and we had the straight vinyl here. But even though it's the same, you can tell there's little minor differences between the two. Like with this dorsal plate right here, and that dorsal plate right there, or this big one and this big one. It's just, you can tell by looking at it, there are differences, even though they look the same, but they are minor differences between the two. Which looks really, 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 really awesome. And the fact that, that the King Goji can't be considered, that, he had a little bit of size to him, especially when it comes to his thighs and his abdomen. You can argue that, that the 1964 suit better fitted Mr. Nakajima, because he did play both Godzilla and both King Kong vs. Godzilla, as well as Mothra vs. Godzilla. But you can tell that this suit basically better fitted him because it's more slimmer. And to me, this is like just the perfect Godzilla. He's not too fat, he's not too slim. He's proportioned really, really well. Nothing against the King Goji, because I love the King Goji. I really, really do. But some fans will call him fat, and he does have a little bit of size to him. It just depends on how you look at him. And there are some angles where he looks really, really fat. Then there's some angles where he doesn't. But this Monster Goji, he looks perfect from all angles. But also at the same time, the King Goji is really is an awesome suit. But between the two, I love them both. But between the two, you already know the 64 is my favorite. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the size comparison. I will bring up his Mothra vs. Godzilla co-star in the next segment, and I will finish off this review with my thoughts on Mothra vs. Godzilla. Matter of fact, I'm sure I give you my thoughts on the film too many times, but I'm gonna do a little bit different, kind of like what I did with the GMK Gigantic Re-Up review. So sit tight, and you know exactly what I mean. All right, and thanks for hanging in there with me. I appreciate it. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, I'm back with my thoughts of Mothra vs. Godzilla. At least a different perspective, or at least something different. Because like I said, I have given my opinions on this movie hundreds of times. I know that, you know that, and you already know everything I'm going to say about this film being my favorite is going to be positive. But I was doing some research. I've done some research on this film before, and I found out, kind of like how I found out about GMK, or the original plan for GMK, that there was a early draft of this film which was vastly different, or at least somewhat different from what we got on screen. Of course, that is common when it comes to movie scripts, and kaiju films are no different. Like in GMK, like I mentioned, where Godzilla was going to be opposed by Varan, Anguirus, and Baragon, versus the final product where he got opposed by Baragon, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, or in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, where that was originally written for King Kong, or in Godzilla vs. Gigan, where that was actually a movie made for King Ghidorah, and King Ghidorah was going to be the main villain, and Gigan was going to be the was going to be the sidekick, but they changed it around. But in this film, there were some massive differences, a little bit of differences between the early draft of the script to what we got on screen. And first and foremost, in the final product, you know, the egg is washed ashore. This egg, Martha's egg, is washed ashore in Japan. And they, you know, businessman, you know, Kumiyama, we all know who he is, the guy with the Hitler mustache, wanted to exploit it and I guess make it like a showpiece or make it like a tourist attraction or whatever. But in the original script, actually, it was supposed to be Godzilla's body. Godzilla's body was going to be washed ashore by the hurricane, and they were going to use Godzilla's body, I guess, put it in an incubator, I guess, like the egg or something like that. But at least they was going to turn Godzilla's body into a tourist attraction. Then, of course, Godzilla will wake up, and then he would terrorize Japan, and I think he would have a bigger role in the film. For what I read, he would attack Rolithika, which is, you know, I guess the country or the city that Mothra attacked in her debut film. And Mothra was not going to really appear until like at the very, very end, at least at the climax of the film. And the larvas, or Mothra larvas, were not involved at all in the in the movie at all. And it's just, like I mentioned with GMK might be interesting. I'm kind of glad that the end product was what it was. I'm glad that they chose to amend some of the early draft proposals. You know, it's just that even though it's interesting to see what would happen if they would have used Godzilla's body as a tourist attraction, not exactly the smartest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? To use Godzilla's body as a tourist attraction. I mean, for one, he's radioactive. So how many people do you expect, for one, to want to go there, two, to actually go there and actually be able to walk away without getting radiation poisoning or whatever? And also, in order to get Mothra to help, of course, they had the three original people, you know, the two reporters and the scientists. They was also in the early draft too. But they go to Mothra's island, and they offered, and according to the early draft, from what I read, they offered themselves up as hostages to the people of Infant Island in order to get Mothra to help to fight Godzilla, which basically, that's kind of crazy because it gives the idea that the Infant Island people are terrorists. So I'm glad they really didn't really do that. And also, what I like about the fact of Godzilla, the final draft of Mothra versus Godzilla, and why I'm glad they didn't go with the whole Godzilla tourist attraction thing. Because if they would have done that, it would have basically reduced the tension. And like I mentioned before, I think one of the best things about Mothra vs. Godzilla is the fact that Godzilla is nowhere to be found. You really didn't know how Godzilla was going to be introduced to the story. He kind of just came out of nowhere, and I really like that. I really enjoyed how they introduced Godzilla, because majority of the film up until Godzilla's appearance is really dedicated to Mothra and them wanting to get the egg back to the island and them dealing with the businessmen and all that good stuff. You know, that was a really compelling story, and actually to the point where you don't really think about Godzilla at that point, because, you know, the story is just so compelling, at least for me. So then when he finally shows up, it was out of surprise. And I think that worked to the film's benefit. But with him being on screen already, you know, him being unconscious, kind of like it was in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, where he spent most of the film sleeping. He was still on screen, but it ain't like he was like walking around or doing anything. He wasn't in action. So it wasn't really that much entertaining. I mean, Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster is entertaining, but it wasn't that much entertaining during the human parts, with Godzilla being there, but he was still asleep, and it's like it wasn't like he was doing anything. And with the story of the people going to Infant Island, offering themselves up as hostages, basically, if you take the egg out of the equation, it really eliminates the whole depth of the story, because really the egg is the reason why Godzilla and Mothra come together in the first place. You know what I'm saying? The egg washes the shore. They try to get the egg back to Infant Island. They're unsuccessful. So they're already played into the story. So when Godzilla shows up on the screen, they have an idea to go to Mothra to ask her for help. And not only that, they deliver a message of wanting to help your fellow man and all that good stuff. And also, with Godzilla attacking Japan, he may eventually come across the egg and attack it, which raises the stakes. So Mothra not only has to help just to help mankind, but she also has to help to save her children, which eventually what happens when Godzilla comes across the egg, and Mothra arrives in the nick of time to combat Godzilla and to save her children. And then with the whole larva situation, I know a lot of folks don't like that Godzilla lost to Mothra's babies, and I can understand that to a certain extent. I really, really can. But like I said, I mean, it's a very, very simple premise. Y'all ever heard of the story of David and Goliath? You know what I'm saying? It's basically like that. And like I said, Godzilla in this film is not the animated, vibrant, basically almost MMA fighter that we will see in Megalon and Gigan or Mechagodzilla. He's just a slow reacting, like a giant tank, like I said before. And he's not able to get both Mothras, and they use the numbers game to their advantage. And I really do like that. So it's not really more so of Godzilla losing the two babies. It's the fact that two monsters were able to use the numbers advantage, the numbers game to their advantage, and to really defeat Godzilla. And I really do like that. And for this to be my favorite Godzilla film, in essence, Godzilla really loses the battle. He loses the war. Of course, he defeats the adult Mothra, but in the end, Godzilla does lose. And he, like I mentioned before, he looks strong in defeat, and that's what I really love about this film. From the story, the special effects, the suits, the miniatures, just everything, even the wonderful, beautiful score by Akira Ifukube, everything about this film makes it the perfect Godzilla film for me. Of course, it has its flaws. I'm not saying no film is perfect. But for me, this is about near as perfect as a Godzilla film that you would ever get. And I highly, highly do recommend this film. I would recommend this to a kaiju newbie. Although I would recommend the first one because you have to really, in my opinion, you have to really just see the first one to get just a knowledge of the character and just, just understand why Godzilla is the way he is. But if that movie's kind of too dark for some people's taste, I would highly recommend Mothra vs. Godzilla. It's one of the best films ever in the Godzilla franchise. Despite how people feel about Godzilla losing at the end, or whatever the case may be, you can't deny the fact that with the special effects, the score, the music, the story, the acting, everything was brought together in the perfect synergy to create one of the best Godzilla films, if not the best Godzilla film of all time. But yes, that's my take on Mothra vs. Godzilla, and this finishes up my review, my first review of 2016. Trust me, there are more to come. And this is the review of the X-Plus 30cm Godzilla 1964 from Diamond, from my favorite film. You already know what I'm going to say. But yes, I'm glad I finally got around to review this figure. It's just one of those figures that, I've had it for a while, going on 2 years. And it's just, it's amazing. It really has. It's just, it's in my collection in the back. When I come up here to my room, to my man cave, and I look at all my monsters, you grow attached to certain figures. Some weeks I may grow attached to the gigantic burning Godzilla. The next week I may grow attached to a Gamera figure. But it's nice, to come up here, at least go through your collection and just find one piece that you look at and admire, review, whatever. And I really do enjoy this figure. At first, I liked it, but since I had the giant one up back here, I mean, nothing compares to that as far as I'm concerned. But I have to say that X-Plus really did an awesome job with this figure. I highly recommend it. Hopefully you can find them for a good price. I do see him out there on eBay every now and then. Of course, he's nowhere near the price that he was when he first came out from Diamond. But if you do your research and just don't go overboard with the spending when it comes to the figure, he's worth adding to your collection. No doubt about it. And check out the Facebook groups I'm about to mention. Toho Nation, Toho Kaiju Union, the X-Plus Collectors Facebook group, Sci-Fi Labyrinth, the Godzilla Collectors Facebook group, and of course, Toy Explosion, Japanese toy and figure services. And also check out kaijuaddicts.com for all things X-Plus, past, future, present, everything you want to know about these figures, where you can find them, how you can go about finding them, where to go. All that is on that awesome website, kaijuaddicts.com. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with my review. And like I said, the first review of 2016, and there are more to come, trust me. I have more content I want to provide. I have a lot that I want to talk about. There's just so many things I want to get into this year. I want to top last year, what I put out there. And I thank y'all for y'all support and your kind words of encouragement. Everything that you have done to help me to get to where I am today, I really do appreciate it very, 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 very much. So like I have said many, many times before, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see y'all again on next figure and move review. And why don't you watch Monster vs. Godzilla for me? Watch Monster vs. Godzilla for me. All right, thank y'all. Y'all take it easy.